So I'm on the Saints bandwagon officially now. Cardinals and Broncos, you've broken my heart one too many times this season, and I've moved on to a new, more handsome suitor who treats me right.
Well, Drew Brees, I can't blame you there.
Oh, it's Mark Ingram.
Oh,
He's got those
well,
big arms, those big powerful arms. He's an amazing big spoon. I'm never looking back.
three three touchdowns for Mark Ingram and one for Drew
Three
Brees. They're
touchdown.
monsters. But I'm all aboard the hype train. Also, go
Yeah.
Saints. That's just yeah.
So welcome back to the second draft, everybody. So this past week was interesting. A lot of blowouts, a lot of really rough games, a lot of really painful games. Some a little more painful than others for obvious reasons. Um, I don't really want to go back and recap a lot of them. So let's just get into week 11. What do you say?
Let's do it. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
game.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
think we've got some good matchups this week. I'm looking forward to a lot of them.
Yeah.
Actually,
I am too, actually. Maybe not so much this first one, Thursday Night Football. It's Titans at Steelers. You want to go ahead and kick us off?
yeah. If we have a matchup win for mediocrity, I think this one might be it. Steelers did nothing against the Colts, which how do you not put up mad points against the Colts when you have somebody like Antonio Brown on your team?
The Steelers were inexplicably bad and flat against a very, very vulnerable Colts squad. Watching that game was just absolutely painful. There's no other way to describe it. It was bad, dull, lifeless football. That being said, I think I'm going to go Steelers this week. They're
Yep.
such a schizophrenic team. You never know which version of the Steelers is going to take the field. I don't know if this is necessarily going to be what you call like a rebound game. The Titans are playing okay football. They beat the Bengals, but just barely. They beat them by 24 points. The Steelers having this weird split personality going on. I mean, you automatically have to default to choosing the version of the Steelers that's going to come out and be dominant and win. Like you said, like AB was non-existent. That can't happen 2 weeks in a row, can it? So, sorry, Titans. I'm going to go with the Steelers just by default. Like you have to pick them by default. So,
Yeah, I mean, DeMarco Murray might be able to put up points, and Mariota runs all over the place like he always does. But I also have the Steelers. I think Le'Veon Bell is just going to run all over that Titans defense, and regardless of how many points they score, I think AB is going to be open. I think we're gonna see the Steelers win this one.
yeah, agreed. And obviously, you can tell at this point, Paige is not with us. She's actually in San Francisco tonight. What we're going to do at the end of this video is we're going to put up a recap graphic of everybody's picks, including Paige's. So we're not going to ding her picks up like we normally do. We're just going to recap at the end. I think going forward at the end of every video every week, we're going to do a similar graphic. So if you're not keen on listening to me and Alex drone on for 40 or 50 minutes, you can skip to the end. Check out that graphic. You'll break our hearts if you do. We'd love it if you watch the video, but you've now got that option. Speaking of broken hearts, the Lions and the Bears.
Bears Lions. Bears Lions. I've got the Bears. I'll go first. I've got the Bears for this one. Yeah, despite last week, I think the Packers looked a lot better than they have the rest of the season. Devontae Adams was on fire. Huntley had his feet under him for the first time in a while or ever in the NFL. Anyway, and yeah, I think the Bears are going to take this one. Lions put up. They should have put up more points last week, but yeah, Bears definitely.
Yeah, the Lions worry me. They consistently worry me. I'm a big fan of Matthew Stafford. I'm not a big fan of that run game at all, and it was really weird to see Theo Riddick not only run forwards for once, but actually score a touchdown. I feel like they should have very handedly beat the Browns. I feel like that game was more of a struggle than it needed to be, and I feel like they're going to struggle just as much, if not more, against the Bears. And the Bears just got embarrassed by the Packers, who, like you said, like Hundley has found his legs. He looked good. He actually made Devontae Adams relevant to not just the Packers, but in fantasy in general. I had Devontae Adams on my team before Aaron Rodgers got hurt. As soon as Hundley took over, he just disappeared, and I have not had any regrets about dropping him from my roster. He scored a touchdown this week, so I don't know.
And some deep passes. He caught some deep passes too. He was reliable as a receiver, which was different.
Well, because Hundley suddenly became reliable as a quarterback. So I'm taking the Bears this week. just because the Lions struggled way too much, and the Bears are clearly a better team than the Browns this season. So
Cool.
yeah, cool. So we're both going Bears. This next game, we'll just say, do we just say Jaguars?
Jaguars.
Do we really
I'm looking
need to?
forward to this. So, sidebar, DT and I play each other in fantasy this week, and this might be the reason that I pull ahead for. I'm 0-1 in this matchup, and really looking forward to seeing Fournette run all over the Browns. He did not show up against LA, and that should have been, in my opinion, much more of a showing out of Fournette, but he just wasn't on the field, and I think that's a bad coaching call. I don't think it was for lack of talent or ability or just a bad game for him. I think it was just he wasn't on the field. So
He just didn't show up.
when he plays the Browns defense, it's going to be green grass and high tides, and I'm looking forward to a Mark Ingram kind of day out of Fournette.
Yeah. And I think you've also got the Jaguars defense this week, which is going to be
That I do.
especially painful for me. I believe the last time we faced each other in fantasy, we made a beer bet where the loser had to drink a very terrible beer. I believe I selected the worst beer in existence, Natty Ice, for you. I'm fully confident you're going to be drinking another one. But the combination of Fournette and that Jaguars defense against the Browns has got me a little bit nervous. I'm not going to lie. But it's going to be the Jaguars. You're calling Jaguars?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure
I have
Paige is too.
I have no doubt Paige is going to pick the Jaguars. So moving on, we've got the Ravens at the Packers. So we kind of touched on this quite a bit while we were just discussing the Lions and the Bears. Hundley looks really good. He looks, well, let's not say really good. Let's say he looks comfortable, a lot more comfortable. The Packers are going to be without Montgomery and Adams, I believe. But their third stringer showed up last week in a big way. He looked really good. So the Ravens are such a weird team. Again, they're another one of those schizophrenic teams that you really have no idea what they're going to do when they take the field. They can either be okay, they can be decent. Flacco could have a decent game. He could throw a massive interceptions. You have no idea going into this game or any game what the Ravens are going to do. For that reason, I'm going to take the Packers.
Yeah, I'm with you on this one. I've said it before in previous weeks. The Ravens are a big question mark, and they continue to be so. They just don't. They don't have anything that's showing me that they're always going to be the team that I'm like, probably not. No. So I think the Packers are going to take this one. They look better. Jamal Williams, I think, is the name of the Packers third stringer that's going to come in.
Jamal Williams, yeah.
And I don't know. Would you call him kind of like a sleeper pick for fantasy this week?
At this point, yeah. Yeah.
I think against the Ravens defense, he definitely is. I think Deion Lewis
so.
also is.
That's a good call from New England. Yeah, that's actually a really good call. Yeah.
I think receivers-wise, too, somebody like Marquise Lee from Jacksonville, especially against the Browns defense, is another sleeper pick. But, yeah, let's cruise on.
Buzz. Yeah, I like Marquise Lee a lot. Do we have to move on to this next game?
It's a tough one.
Should we? I don't know. Do we call this one the dumpster fire of the week? We've got some pretty bad matchups. Two fractured teams.
There are some bad matchups. I don't know if we call it. Might be. It might be the dumpster fire of the week.
It might be. Yeah. We'll call it. Mostly because the Cardinals have no idea their situation is going to be at quarterback. Last week in their loss against Seattle, it looked like Drew Stanton had sprained his MCL. There's been talk for the last couple of weeks that he was going to be out for at least a week or two. Now it looks like he might actually play, which has the entire quarterback situation up in the air. It's either going to be Drew Stanton or Blaine Gabbert, neither of which I have particularly high level of confidence in. But on the flip side, the Texans are really, really bad and look absolutely horrible without Deshaun Watson. They've completely fallen apart, Lamar Miller notwithstanding. It's a weird pick. They both got defenses that are really solid. Jadeveon Clowney is a beast. I don't really know who to pick here, so as weird as it sounds to feel weird about this, I might actually go Cardinals.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you with this one. The Cardinals I feel weird about this pick. I don't know. I'm so on the fence. Probably, I agree. Dumpster fire. Like this is the worst game because just you have no idea what's happening on either side of the field.
Right.
Um, I think the Texans' defense has steadily declined since the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
Despite their kind of monsters on defense like Clowney. I love watching college football. It's Clowney and like now in the NFL, but I don't think their offense can really do anything. I think Savage just like comes on the field and immediately goes off, despite Lamar Miller. So
He's
I've got
yeah.
yeah, I've got the Cardinals this week too. I think Gabbert is actually more of an X factor than Drew Stanton,
I
and I
think so
think
too.
considering they could put up points against the Seahawks, despite the fact that the Seahawks aren't what they used to be, I think the fact that they're coming off that game and knowing that it was a competition, they're going to be playing a little bit hotter, and we're going to see them take this win.
Yeah, so Cardinals. I don't think it's a fair assessment to say that the Cardinals are necessarily a decent team because they put up points against the Seahawks last week. That Seahawks defense is literally decimated. Like, I don't think there's anybody in the Legion of Boom who's still healthy. And now Richard Sherman is out for the season with a ruptured Achilles. I think the last man standing of that elite unit was Cam Chancellor, and I think he's injured now too. It's just a horrible state of affairs in Seattle right now. We'll get to that in a little bit in the second half because they're going to be playing Monday Night Football against the Falcons. So, but moving on, Cardinals. I'm really interested to see who Paige picks. Being, I'm a huge Cardinals fan. I would say that Paige is like a certified Cardinals homer. So it's been a painful season for her, especially. So I don't know. Eager to see who she picks. But in the meantime, we've got another competitor for Dumpster Fire of the Week. We might just have two Dumpster Fires of the Week this week. The Buccaneers at the Dolphins in Miami. I'm going to need a minute to gather my thoughts on this one, so if you want to jump in,
Yeah.
good sir.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, the Buccaneers are coming off a win against the Jets. I think if you're going to pick out a fluke game from last week, I think that was it. I expected the Jets, and I think we all did expect the Jets to perform a little bit better than they did. That being said, the Dolphins are coming off a loss against Carolina. They played Monday
Massive
night.
loss.
A massive loss, a huge loss. You're right. I had Kenyon Drake on my roster. I was expecting him to be able to put up more than 2 points. It's all I needed to take the W home, and he did not show up until the fourth quarter. But that was kind of a sleeper pick, and he's just been there on the roster since Ajayi left. But for this matchup, I do like the Dolphins. I think they just have more versatility. I think the Buccaneers are a little bit more all over the place, and to lose to the Panthers in such a big way isn't a big deal to me, considering they're just on the heels of the Saints in their division, sitting at 7-3, I believe is their record, and the Saints are ahead just because of the lack of loss. So,
Right.
yeah, I've got the Dolphins for this one.
Yeah, the Dolphins. Okay. Um, I wish Paige was here because I could use a little bit more time on this pick. I have no idea. It's still very clear to me that Jay Cutler's playing injured. I mean, he's still playing scared. He's still dealing with that rib injury. He's making some wild, horrible throws. He doesn't want to take a hit, and I don't blame him. I don't know. They're stuck between a rock and a hard place, either going with the quarterback who's doing everything they can to not get hit because he's terrified about shattering those ribs, and going with Tom Moore.
Yeah.
You know what? This is going to come back and bite me in the ass, and I'm going to be wearing whatever awful jersey you guys pick for me at the end of the season. I'm going to go Bucks this time around. Not because I have any particular confidence in the Bucks. They're a completely decimated and fractured team. If they've got any gas left in the tank, I feel like the spark plug was beating the Jets last week. I kind of maybe see them beating a very vulnerable Dolphins team this week. Call me crazy.
It's not a bad pick or not a bad gamble, I should say.
This was literally a coin toss. Like it could go either way. I think. Yeah. So again, eager to see who Paige picks on this because it's just such a weird game. So we'll go one more game and we'll take our traditional halftime break and we'll come back and we'll wrap up the second half of games. So this might actually be one of the better matchups this week. One of the games I'm genuinely excited for, and that is the Rams at Minnesota against the Vikings. Alex,
Yep.
you want to take the lead on this bad boy?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, coming off two dumpster fire games to, I'm going to call this the game of the week for sure.
Fair
The
enough.
Rams
Yeah.
are, like we said about the Saints, the Rams are on fire. I think they're up there with the Saints, Jacksonville, and Philadelphia for the best teams in the league right now.
Absolutely.
And they're four of my top five probably. And despite the fact that the Vikings have some offensive weapons and um, they're a good home team, I think that the Rams are going to take this one. We saw some vulnerability in the Vikings defense last week when they played the Redskins.
Yeah.
I think that's just indicative of how this game is going to go. The Vikings are going to be able to score, but against the Rams defense, it's not going to be quite as much as you would see with other teams. So
Yeah.
I've got the Rams.
Yeah, I'm going to go Rams as well. I think it's going to be a really interesting game. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's going to be a heavy-hitting game, but I do think the outcome of this one is relatively clear. The Rams are just playing absolute lights-out football. And as a side note, I'm very excited and very happy to see Robert Woods find his place in the league. He was somebody who was drafted by Buffalo, was a serviceable wide receiver, didn't get a whole lot of action, nothing really happened. He came to LA, and the kid has just exploded onto the scene. And I'm not just happy because I picked him up off the waiver wire in our fantasy league, and he scored me 2 touchdowns, one of which was a bomb-out 94-yard pass. I like the kid at USC. I think he made Matt Barkley look way better than Matt Barkley actually is, especially in his pro day leading up to the combine. So it's cool to see those players that you know were talented just had to find themselves in the right situation with the right team to have all that talent, come exploding out onto that field, which is actually kind of a rather graphic metaphor, but I'm going to go with it anyway.
The text you sent was hilarious. It was just a string of letters about Robert Woods.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Yeah, I think it was literally just like William Faulkner would have been amazed at my stream of consciousness on that text. I was very amped up and full of alcohol. So, but yeah, I'm picking the Rams. Like you said before, the Redskins put up a lot of points against that Vikings defense last week, and I think the Rams are at least twice the team that the Redskins are this season. No offense to any Redskins fans who might be watching. I'm hoping it's not a blowout. I hope it's a really good game, but I definitely see the Rams just keeping those good times rolling and just
When you have Todd Gurley on the team, the Redskins don't have Todd Gurley, and when you stack that up against the Vikings defense, I think you just see much more of a run game. That's going to open up some deep passes, and we're going to see the Rams just take this one home.
Yeah, I'm keeping Robert Woods for the rest of the season. He's made me a believer. I always believed, but now there's a reason to believe. So yeah, I love you, Robert Woods. if
that's a good place to.
Yeah, if Mark Ingram ever does me wrong, Robert Woods, I'm gonna flee right into your arms. Yeah, that's like you said. That's a good note to take halftime. Yeah, before I embarrass myself anymore.
No, I
we'll
mean,
be right back.
Yeah.
And that was halftime. And now we have the Chiefs and the Giants.
I've got the
McAdoo not fired. Why is Ben McAdoo not fired yet?
Why was he not way long ago?
Why was he not? You just lost. You just gave a winless team their first win, and it was bad. I don't know. So the Giants have said that they're waiting until they can review the season in its entirety, which means he must cost more money to be fired at this point than just letting him go through and coach to a terrible season, like a losing season. That's the only explanation I can think of at this point for the Mara family to keep McAdoo around, because he's just abysmally bad as a coach. He's bad. He's horrible. He makes Jeff Fisher look like a slightly less bad coach. Yeah, it's going to be the Chiefs all fucking day. It's the Chiefs.
Zeke should have had McAdoo's lawyer. I mean, whatever that is got. There's your title. No, but really the Giants just they're so terrible. They've got. I think Darkwa was a good sleeper pick, but still especially against the Niners. But how do you do that? Just bad. Just no. Let's move on. I don't want to talk about it anymore.
Yeah. Okay. So this is going to be our favorite game of the week. not the best game of the week, but Redskins at the Saints in Nolans in the Superdome. Who dat? I'm going to go Saints just because again, I'm on that bandwagon. I'm feeling these good times. I'm feeling the vibe. I'm wearing the Saints jersey. I'm feeling it. I'm excited about this team. This team has got me fired up in football in a way that no other team this season really has. It's amazing to see that run game come alive. They've been absolutely freaking dominant. Mark Ingram, my cuddle butter, he's just amazing.
He's so good.
Kamara's just been unbelievable. Pass catching and running, he's been lights out, incredible. Their defense, Lattimore is becoming one of the better cornerbacks in the league. We talk all the time about Vaccaro and how he's playing lights out at safety. This team is just firing on all cylinders on all facets of this team, and it's incredible and such a pleasure to watch. And I'm sorry to any Redskins fans out there, but I think you're going to be disappointed because I think the Saints are going to go 8 in a row this week. And it's not the Redskins' fault. The Saints are just on fire. It's just, I think it's their year.
Yeah, the Saints. I talked about earlier how we have running backs back and forth in the league right now, and how that's like a pretty good move. It seems to be working out. I think 2 weeks ago I made a reference to Earth, Wind, and Fire. Back when the Giants had a run game, and I said the Saints have the same thing going on. They just don't have Derek Ward. They don't have that, they have the power back, which is Ingram, and they have their speed back, which is Kamara. They don't have their kind of versatile, almost slot player in Ward.
Right.
I mean, they don't, but they had Edmonds pop in and score a touchdown. Their special teams
that was great.
Running back that just came in at the end of it was garbage time, and they had just already trounced the Bills. But I mean, the fact that they can just rotate folks in and just still dominate, the Saints are going to take this one. I think their defense is going to shut down the Redskins offense that was able to exploit the Vikings, and we're going to see another dominant performance out of the Saints.
I agree completely. Yeah, and it's not because we're biased or anything. I honestly think the Saints are just a better team, and they're just such a high right now. So next up, we got the Bills at the Chargers in not San Diego. So the Bills, the Bills, as we just said, they're coming off a humiliating defeat against the Saints. Sorry to our boy Jay Rum, who we speak out to every week because he's a gentleman who watches our videos and we respect and love him for it. The Bills might bounce back this week. I'm going to take the Bills on a lark. I'm hoping that their somewhat vulnerable defense allows for Melvin Gordon to score me a touchdown or two in fantasy, because I got to beat this guy so I don't have to drink a terrible beer next week, and also because I want to maintain my bye that I've currently been holding on to for several weeks in the playoffs. But I think the Bills bounce back. I think the Bills are going to fire in their belly still, and I think that loss last week against the Saints is going to drive them to really go after it this week.
Yeah, when you've got players like T-Mobile and Shady, I mean, you've got the opportunity to score. I think the Chargers are going to take this one. I think the Bills is your kind of dark horse pick. I don't like many things about the Chargers. I'm not being a Broncos fan, I'm not about the Chargers at all, and I've liked the Bills this season a lot. But to just watch them fold and just lay over for the Saints, I wasn't surprised, but I was surprised to see quite such a deficit. So I think they're going to be demoralized. I think coming into this week, they're in Los Angeles, which doesn't really say much. But yeah, the Chargers, I think they've got this one. I think Melvin Gordon's going to exploit what Kamara and Ingram were able to. We saw a weakness in the Bills' defense, especially the run defense, last week. And I think Melvin Gordon, unfortunately for me, is going to be able to run through that.
Yeah, I hope you're right. I very much hope you're right. I'm sticking with my Bills pick. They're, like you said, they're my dark horse. They're my attempt at getting back up higher in our rankings as far as our little three-way pick 'em bet this season. Because I really don't want to wear whatever horrible jersey you guys come up with. And if I do lose, I hope you guys get creative and come up with something really horrible because I will wear that shit every week. Not
I've
proudly.
got something creative, but I don't know.
Ooh,
I've got a couple ideas. I'm sure
yeah.
Paige just got better ones though, so we'll wait to see what she says.
That woman can be
But
ruthless when she needs to be, and she'd be the first one to be like, absolutely.
I
So,
think what we
yeah.
need to do is just make sure we come back, and then Paige is the one that is wearing that jersey next year.
We could catch up. I think we can catch up. Maybe we should collude. Yeah.
We're within a few games. Yeah, collusion is not
Yeah.
off the table
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't even
So
want to talk about this next game, so let's just cruise on.
we got to talk about it. We got to talk about it. It's painful. It sucks. It's like getting a root canal. We got to talk about the fact that the Broncos are just absolutely decimated. They were completely and utterly routed by the Patriots. I don't know what the F is going on with that Broncos defense. They've completely given up. That is one of the most elite and put together defenses in the league, and there's no reason why they shouldn't have put up some sort of fight. Special teams. You could see it in the eyes of their special teams coordinator that when they muffed that first punt. By the way, the Patriots only punted once. They recovered that punt, and they scored a touchdown on that punt. That's how horrible and horrific the Broncos special teams have become. I don't know, again, that guy should be right in the unemployment line right next to McAdoo looking for another job, or at least collecting a government check. He should be collecting money from we, the taxpayers, because that man should not have a job right now. Horrific. Brock Osweiler, we can't really say you were exposed because we knew you were terrible from day one. Nobody was happy to see you come back to Denver. The only upside was that you came back for an incredibly low asking price because the Browns are still paying your salary.
I think we were right to say that Osweiler was the pick to put in. Um,
Well,
we
Lynch
all
is,
we talked about it before. He's green behind the ears is what I had said, and
yeah,
just to like quote myself verbatim, and we gave Osweiler a chance. I say sit him. You know,
do you bring, I mean, Lynch is hurt. Simeon is terrible. I don't know what you do at this point. There is no hot hand to play. Everybody's hands are ice cold.
I
It's going
think
to be
you
weird
give.
to
I think
see.
this game, if you look at the rest of the season for the Broncos, I think this game you put in Paxton Lynch and let him give it a shot.
Yeah.
Emmanuel Sanders was able to get open after coming off an injury, his ankle, I think it was,
Yeah.
and put up something like 13 points in fantasy, which was that's respectable,
Yeah.
especially against Patriots defense.
A pretty
So
decent defense overall. Yeah.
yeah, they're not fantastic. I won't say
They're
they
not
are, but
elite.
they
Yeah. Yeah.
they're not the Saints defense this year or any number the Jacksonville defense, but
Oh, God, no. Yeah.
they're definitely good. They're good, and that's the reason Patriots win games. So
Hmm.
I think that being said, there's still something on the Broncos team. There are people there that are ready to make plays. They just have to get a little bit more creative now, and we've seen the capability before.
Hmm.
I think the Broncos are known for that naked boot and some kind of quirky trick plays, but mostly for just being reliable, especially with the defense. And when we don't see the defense like that, I don't even know what to do with this pick. I'm going to ramble for like 5 minutes, so I'm just going to let you pick first.
I'm going to go Bengals. I don't know what else to say. I'm just going to go Bengals. Um, at this point, I think even Andy Dalton has a chance at exploiting this Broncos defense. They're just broken fundamentally. There's just nothing there. It's scary to watch this team flounder the way they have, and it's even weird to think about the fact that the Broncos are going to have maybe a high draft pick, the 2018 draft this year. Jeremy Hill is out. He's elected to have season-ending ankle surgery, which leaves Gio Bernard in as their future back. I mean, they're going to misuse him horribly. They're going to feed him into the A-gap like they always try and do whenever Jeremy Hill is out for a down or two with a shoulder injury or whatever reason he takes himself off the field. But against that Broncos defense, I don't know. I think Broncos are incredibly vulnerable right now, and I think even the Bengals have a chance at exploiting it and coming away with another embarrassing, well, not an embarrassing win, but a win at the embarrassment of the Broncos. So I'm going Bengals.
Yeah, I think. Well, I don't know if Gio Bernard will be the feature back because Mixon is still in the mix,
That's true.
uh,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think you're right to say that the Bengals are. I'm gonna go Broncos. I'm gonna go with the home team.
Okay.
I'm so torn on this one,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll call this my dark horse pick of the week,
Okay.
but
That is a
they
dark horse, no pun intended.
it's dark. The Broncos are just like they'll pull out randomly just big wins like we saw earlier this season with the Cowboys. We weren't really expecting that.
Mm-hmm.
They pulled something together, and I think the Bengals are. If you're going to look for teams to pick apart and you're going to just outcoach them, the Bengals might be one of those teams.
Yeah.
Um,
The Bengals do a horrible coaching staff. Yeah. But then so do the
so
Broncos.
if I
Vance
was going to
Joseph.
justify my pick, that's Vance Joseph. He's this is his
He's
last year,
so
but
gone. Yeah.
yeah, to say you know to justify my dark horse pick, that's what I'm going to say. I'm going to go Broncos, but I'm
Okay.
really on the fence about it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be a weird game. A very weird game. It might be our third competitor for dumpster fire of the week. I don't know. Moving on, we've got the Patriots at the Raiders in Oakland. I'm going to give you a little bit of a respite here, a little bit of a chance to reinvigorate yourself and pick against your most hated team in the league. So I'll let you go first.
Patriots. The
Yeah.
Patriots will win. I mentioned Deion Lewis earlier as a sleeper pick this week. I stand by that fully against the Raiders defense. The Raiders had a lot of heat at the beginning of the season. I think they've kind of steadily declined and had a little bit of ups here and there, but they don't have it anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm I've got Marshawn Lynch, and he's been hit or miss. He's coming off a bunch of points, but I still might bench him against Patriots. So
He's projected to do well, but they always project him. There's certain players at ESPN, that's the app we're using, not trying to plug it, just throwing it out there for posterity. ESPN likes to rank and project the same players every week to do incredibly well, even though you'll read like the synopsis and the outlook for that player, and it's like, oh, this player is going to be terrible. This defense is impenetrable. They're never going to do well.
yeah,
They're going to get 10 points. And not
yeah,
even
it's like
just that.
12 points for like a deep flex pick or what is it? Yeah, like a flex pick
Yeah,
in deep leagues.
yeah.
Um,
I love
Patriots are going to win
sometimes.
this one though.
Yeah, like in a slow morning at the office, I'll actually just go through and I'll look at like the available players in a waiver wire, and I'll look at their projections and I'll read their outlooks, and it's like, horrible performance last week, did absolutely terrible. This defense is just going to shut him down. It's leave him on. He's a RB4 at best. He's maybe a flex pick. 12 points. What? And now they got that ad situation where they're making the ads mandatory when you open the app. Like ESPN, like you need to pull your heads out of your asses in more ways than one. Way more ways than
Definitely,
one.
definitely.
Completely unrelated note. John Gruden, please take a coaching job because I love you as a coach. I don't love you as a commentator. And after this year, ESPN's not going to be able to afford you anyway, if they can even hold on to Monday Night Football at all. So take a coaching job. There's a lot of teams out there that can really use you. You're a dynamite quarterback coach. There's a lot of struggling quarterbacks out there. Take a job. Moving on. Well, I didn't pick yet. I'm going Patriots. I'm going Patriots. Raiders don't have it anymore. So, another contender for possibly the best game of the week. Eagles at Cowboys in Dallas. I'll go first. If you're watching this podcast, you're probably well aware of the controversy that's surrounding the Cowboys. And no, I'm actually not talking about Zeke Elliott. I'm talking about all the bullshit surrounding Jerry Jones and his now budding feud with the league. There's actually been rumblings, rumors, that a committee of owners in the NFL are looking into the possibility of forcing Jerry Jones to forfeit the team because of his grievances and his infringements on the Constitution of the NFL. That's how bad things have gotten, how absolutely senile and out of touch Jerry Jones is, and how out of control he is. They've made him
It's a
public enemy number one in a way that even Al Davis never was. Like, this is getting bad. I think it affected their performance against the Falcons last week in a big way. Football, whether you want to believe it or not, is an incredibly mental sport. And when you've got that much shit surrounding your team every week, you don't play focused. I don't see them taking a win against the Eagles, who, again, we've already said is easily one of the best teams, maybe top 3 teams in the league right now. I think the Eagles are going to
Definitely.
trounce him. Yeah.
Eagles for sure will win this one.
Yeah.
I don't know how much more I have to say about it. They've just been playing so well. They're a well-rounded team. The Cowboys are so hit or miss. You don't know what they're going to do, especially without Zeke Elliott.
Mm-hmm.
The locker room's probably going to be dead before the game. And,
Yeah.
I imagine if you put them side by side 10 minutes before the game and you looked at each team, you would be able to tell who was going to win, regardless of whether or not you knew
Oh,
what
yeah.
happened at the beginning of the season.
Yeah. I would love to be a fly on the wall of both of those locker rooms just to see the
Mm-hmm.
absolute disparity in culture and in enthusiasm and just feeling of what's going on with those teams. Jerry Jones is an owner and a general manager. You cannot do this to your team on a regular basis and just drag that team through all that drama. You're stunting that team emotionally, and football's an emotional sport. You can't be doing that. You can't do that. I don't know.
He's
I'm not going
playing
to get
around.
into the politics
He's
of the league and
yeah.
whatnot, but I have no love for Jerry Jones. I'm not going to pick a side one way or the other between him and the alleged committee of other owners who are looking to try and maybe force him out at some point. But all I can say right now is Jerry Jones is nothing but a detriment to this team at this point, and he has been for a long time. So
I mean, a lot. I think a lot of those owners, they're right on the borderline between letter of the law, spirit of the law kind of thing.
yeah,
And he's dipped his toes into both pools, and it's just been riding in that for way too long now, and he's kind of getting called out on it. So I don't know. I don't think we need to dwell on it too much. I think the Eagles are going to take this one home. Let's talk about Monday night.
Monday night. So we got the Falcons at Seattle against the Seahawks. Alex, I got the feeling you've got some things to say about this, so set it off.
Yeah, I don't. We talked about the Seahawks a little bit before when we
Mm-hmm.
talked about the Cardinals. And I think they were a part of that discussion. But I've got the Falcons this week. You never know what's going to happen with Matty Ice and the squad there.
Yeah.
I, the Seahawks don't look great. I think they still like Doug Baldwin and Russell Wilson. They're going to do something, but I don't think it's enough to beat the Falcons.
No, I'm going to agree wholeheartedly. Like we said earlier, Legion of Boom is effectively done. There's a lot of things happening there. That entire defense is decimated. Like we said before, Cam Chancellor I think was the last man standing, and now he might be injured and out as well. Richard Sherman's in a really weird position in his career. I think he's on a contract year. He's going to be really expensive. He's getting up there in age, which is weird for me to say because I'm in my mid-30s. He's just now hitting 30. But for a cornerback, I mean, that's up there. It might be, it's kind of maybe premature to say, but there's been some talk that maybe we just saw his last game as a Seahawk. I mean, I'm sure he'll find a home somewhere else. Somebody else will be willing to pay him. But the Seahawks already have so little in terms of wiggle room because they have so many elite players and so many high contracts. We may not see him come back, and losing somebody like that, losing somebody like Richard Sherman is a huge morale blow for the Seahawks. And they've had so many of them this year. I do see the Falcons exploiting that Seahawks defense and Matty Ice, connecting with not just Julio Jones, but I think Sanu as well. I think Devonta Freeman, who's been a little bit kind of on the quiet side the last few games, I think he has an explosive
Definitely
night.
quiet.
Yeah, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
the Seahawks don't have. I don't think they have any starting safeties. I think Devonta Freeman's gonna just come right back into the spotlight.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's gonna have an explosive night.
Not to backtrack too much, but Sherman, I think I don't know if it's going to be his last game. I think if I look at some of the comparative figures, I automatically, being a Broncos fan, think of Champ Bailey, and I remember a couple of years there where people are saying he's done, he's been done, he needs to just put it away. And
Yeah.
he would come back the next season on fire, get like 3 more picks, and people would be like, "This is why he's the legend." The same language they use when they talk about Larry Fitzgerald today.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know. Sherman, I think, has got a lot of value still. If he goes away, I guess with an injury like that, I wouldn't be surprised. But I also am saying this just to say that if he comes back, I wouldn't be surprised about that either.
I'm gonna say this: if he doesn't come back to Seattle, come to Arizona.
Yeah,
Because we're gonna. I have this. It's a shared feeling amongst many Cardinal fans that we're gonna have a lot of cap space at the end of this season. I don't see Palmer coming back. I don't see Larry, sadly, unfortunately, it breaks my heart to say it, unless they just somehow, some way make some crazy ass moves, or they just lock down like the best quarterback we've ever seen in the draft. I think Larry's going to probably be done as well. I would, if I'm being brutally honest, love the man. I've got his autograph on my wall right now. He's one of my favorite jerseys. Tyrann Mathieu. I would trade him. I would trade him away. I'd free up more cap space. I would go after Richard Sherman. I would have Patrick Peterson and Richard Sherman shutting down that entire field and let whatever quarterback we draft or sign get acclimated with the offense and be comfortable enough to just, learn and then just be dynamite. And Sherman's going to go back to Seattle at some point, whether he plays his final season there or somewhere else. He'll come back. He'll retire a Seahawk. They'll love him forever. Come to Arizona. Have some fun with us. That'd be cool. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if Steve Keim is that brave. Steve Keim.
That's I was going to say. It sounds like bold
Cardinals.
moves for the Cardinals.
It's
Yeah.
way too bold for Steve Keim. He's such a, I hate to say it, he's a pussycat. Like his realm is going out and finding, well, I mean, this might be in his realm, going out and finding, aged veterans and pulling them in for a minimum and, wearing them out and getting every last drop out of them before they're injured and have to retire. So maybe Richard Sherman's in his wheelhouse. I don't know, but
Why you don't make moves for Deshaun Watson though? I mean, I understand Adrian Peterson. I think that was wise, but
yeah.
you're not going to do much without you need a stronger front, and yeah.
Yep. So that was the last game of the week. Any closing thoughts? Any funny material for our post-credit stinger? I don't feel like we've really got anything for that yet. So what do you?
Yeah, I don't know. The
pressure's on.
The projections for our matchup this week, I think, were pretty neck and neck.
Mm-hmm.
I think as much as ESPN inflates the projections each week, I think they're drastically underestimating how much of an ass whooping Leonard Fournette is going to put on that Cleveland Browns defense. So I'm really hoping for a Mark Ingram kind of day against the Bills, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm hoping that Mark Ingram has a nice Mark Ingram kind of day against the Redskins too, because I feel like that defense is pretty vulnerable. I hope that Melvin Gordon has a Mark Ingram kind of day against that Bills defense, but I don't know. We're definitely gonna have a really fun matchup this week in fantasy. So whoever wins, whoever loses, I'm not gonna be upset about it. It's gonna be fun. So
yeah,
and I think
if you look at the Vikings Redskins matchup, like Keenum was able to pick apart the Redskins defense, and if he's able to do that, I think Drew Brees is going to be launching bombs down the field, hitting Teddy and Michael Thomas. Snead's in the game now too. Mm-hmm. Who knows? Maybe Fleener will get some action, but I'm hoping that the pass game opens up a little bit more this week. We'll see.
It could. I can see that happening. You got Josh Norman though. He's not a terrible quarterback. I don't love him, but he's still decent. I don't know. He might disrupt the passing game a little bit. I think it's going to be Mark Ingram for like 4 touchdowns.
We'll see.
That's the ceiling. I think the floor is 2 and the ceiling is 4. So we'll see. So I'm out of beer, so we should end this now.
Yep. Bye, guys.
Yeah. Bye, everybody. We love you. Yeah, I mean, actually, when I fucked up the recording the first time and we had to go back and do it a second time, we hit our stride.